No. I was one of those guys, just listened to the radio, never knew the words, never knew who was singing it.
Okay.
Made up my own words, sang those loudly. Go on.
I'm going to read
you
you
some
some
lyrics, Prabhu.
And these lyrics, as you're saying, I think they have a lot to do with missing opportunities in life. That the way that life works is that, we sit and watch movies of people rising to the occasion, Like that's kind of generally what happens in the character arc in a decent film, is that there's challenges in life and something becomes difficult and someone steps up and faces the difficulty with courage. We sit and watch stories of it, but we don't always do it in our own life. And we may feel like, well, it's not like I'm being called upon to save the world from nuclear destruction, or I'm being called upon to save, a child from being kidnapped, or, there's nothing for me to do, that's like so meaningful. We might feel that way, but I think, it's not necessarily that we have to do something huge in life, but if when we're on our we're on our deathbed, that we can feel good about where we are. It's not necessarily that we've done something big, because in one sense, no matter how big whatever we do in this world is, ultimately it's very small, right? Even if we become the most famous person on earth and become very influential, in the grand scheme, in the relative scheme, it's very tiny. So it's not so much about how big the things we do in our life are, but how meaningful they are.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from beautiful Split, Croatia, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. I said Dash. Today is Thursday, July 10th.
To say it like that.
Dash. Dash, Anu Dash. Today is Thursday, July 10th, 2025. It's episode 1641. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Croatia. And yes, on my little vacation to break away from all the retreats we're leading, we have about 22 of us today. And we're having a retreat after the retreat. It wasn't planned on being a retreat, but I'm not leading it. We're all just sort of self-led, but there's basically 22 of us to walk through these little charming villages and not lose a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old or an 8-year-old. But we're trying to take it easy. Today, it's a relaxed day. You know what we do, Kaustubha?
Tell me.
We have mornings off, and then we meet at 10:30. The adults read the Bhagavatam for an hour. Then we read the Bhagavatam again for an hour at the show. Then we have the teenagers show up at 1 o'clock, and we have kirtan for a half hour. And then we eat lunch.
What did you read today in Bhagavatam together?
First canto, chapter 4, Narada and Vyas.
Okay. That's important stuff right
first
there.
Canto. Great stuff. The whole first canto.
Ah.
And you start with first canto, chapter 2, then did chapter 3. Skipped chapter 3, the incarnations, and which right to chapter 4. But it's great stuff. And we got the great, Banu's here, and we got the Rishikesh bhakti-yoga crew here, Taruni.
That's great.
Giriraj, the deity, is here, and the Banu's deity is here, and we got Mukunda Kishore.
Okay, Raghunath.
And
Raghunath,
you want everybody's name?
We get it. You're having a good time.
We're having a good time. Anyway, it's a good time here in Split.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now what? Now you ran out of juice.
Yeah. The bunny is just...
You want some announcements?
Yeah, Miss Mara, what's going on?
important.
What's the announcements going on?
Well, I believe Sage Group registration ends on July 13th. So
What are you, a cyclops? Get your whole face in this picture.
It's open until Sunday.
Got like her eyeballs coming into the screen.
I had it all set up so that two people could sit here, and then somebody
Well,
just
lady,
sat
You
down.
see,
and
you
said,
got to make
You
sure
gotta
that
say-
you get back in the right frame later, Raghunath, for the
Riverside, yeah.
Riverside.
got you.
All
That's
right,
what she's
so our
doing.
Sage Group Yeah, our Sage Group registration ends on July 13th. So if you haven't signed up yet for the next round of Sage Groups, you should sign up today. And also, we're going to take a little break from the show these next few days, and we'll be back on Wednesday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time.
It's more than a few days.
Kaustubha needs a break. We got to give him a break.
Yeah,
And we're on vacation.
Don't even get me started. So that means like what's today's Thursday. So we don't have a show until next Wednesday. It's been years since we've done that. We did that some years back, remember? Like we just shut down for a week or something like that.
In Nepal or something.
We never plan it. This is the first time it's actually been like announced and planned.
Yeah, usually it's like
we shut down.
I think there was
and
one
it's like
time. I think there was one time like 3 years ago or something like that.
Are we still called a daily spiritual podcast? We keep that.
Yeah, we can because it's
pretty daily. It's pretty daily.
No, just like anyone that has a daily job may occasionally take some time off.
Yeah, they don't work on the weekends.
Well, then that's not exactly daily, but we do.
They don't say it's a daily job generally.
Yeah, they generally don't say it's a daily job.
But the more announcements is just that. So we're not having a show until next Wednesday, but we're actively behind the scenes. People are working to try to give the Zoomers like things to do. And so if you check
work
your
to be
mail,
done, Zoomers.
Yeah, if you're on that mailing list, or you can go probably to the Sage Community platform. We're going to give you links. Sometimes, there's great Bhakti Central have really good Bhagavatam speakers in the morning. You can tune into that. And we may even have some of our own people do little get-togethers on Zoom, in the same Zoom room, and have some nice presentations. So we want to keep you going. We don't want to leave you hanging out there.
Or you can also just pick up the Bhagavatam and read it.
Yeah, that's there. But if we can get together, that's nice too.
Yeah. We'll get together then, Kaustubha, and we'll know we'll have a good time then.
And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon.
Okay, Kaustubha's being playful today. Woo! All right.
You're
what else we got here?
You're so far gone. I got to come along with you a little bit. Otherwise, we'll be totally separate polarities.
I think you just attached to that song and you wanted to sing it.
Oh, it's a sad song, Raghunath.
It's a sad song. It's a real sad song.
Yeah.
Speaking of songs, shall we dive into the nugget?
This is kind of a sad song too. It's got a bit of a melancholy thing to it, but I think it's very insightful.
You know what? I love Simon and Garfunkel.
Do you?
I love them.
Really?
I love them. Are you kidding?
Simon, yeah.
In the clear says a box carries a reminder.
Every glove they had and cut him till he cried out.
I don't want to say this, but if anyone's a Flight of the Conchords fan, the Paul Simon episode,
I don't know.
or the Art Garfunkel episode, anyone know what I'm talking about?
Oh
my God.
We should go back to watching that show.
Okay.
But I'll say this. I actually, the first music that I really listened to, my parents had a couple of Simon and Garfunkel records, and I used to just sit alone and listen to those records for hours.
Oh, me too. Feeling groovy? Forget it.
Feeling groovy, okay.
All right.
I was like, yeah, feeling groovy.
Oh, wow.
What the heck just happened to
my mic just
fell right off.
World is falling
on this thing is like becoming problematic.
Just hold it. Just hold it like us. Just hold it.
For now.
You're down at our level now, Kaustubha.
Yeah, what's going on?
Sorry to hear that. All right, so our nugget today comes from Paul Simon.
Okay.
God only knows. God makes his plan. The information's unavailable to the mortal man.
Oh.
We work our jobs, collect our pay, believe we're gliding down the highway, when in fact we're sliding away.
No, I never, ever listened to the lyrics of this song. Really? I'm one of those guys who will make up lyrics and sing those lyrics repeatedly for decades. But this is actually, I've never realized this was had so much depth. God only knows, God makes his plan. The information's unavailable to the mortal man. We work our jobs, collect our pay. Mara's taken away the thing from me. Believe we're gliding down the highway when in fact we're sliding
away.
Wow.
Thoughts, Raghunath. Thoughts.
That's the story of our life, right? You feel like you're moving forward. You're gliding down a highway. You're like, right? But you're really sliding back into the old habits, right? If we're not careful, the days turn into years, or days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years. And before you know it, life is sliding away. And we're left with all these, I should have, I could have, I didn't, right? That's why that's the beauty of this entire spiritual path. It's very, very focused on the now and making a significant choice. Even this book, even what we're doing with Wisdom of the Sages, this was a very intentional choice that we're going to read the Bhagavatam every day.
Right.
Sometimes you can't, but for the most part, we said we're going to try our best to read this Bhagavatam every day. Otherwise, even as devotees, and we know this is to be true, even as devotees, you can get into this thing where like, okay, I became a devotee. Okay, I got some deity in my house. Okay, I've got some books in my house. Okay, I've got some, right? Okay, I go to the temple on a weekend, but I never read my books. I never read the Bhagavatam on a regular basis. It sits there as if it's like a painting on the wall. So the intention of this Bhagavatam was we are going to read every day because that's what we're supposed to do with the Bhagavatam, because that's how we change our thoughts, by bringing in new thoughts on a regular basis. And I tend to go back to my old default setting. I think I'm gliding, but I'm not. It's just time is just spinning by the count. When's the last time I read the Bhagavatam, right? And that could sit on the shelf for years sometimes. I read it a little bit, and then it just went back to my habits. And our habits tend to be bad. Our habits tend to be bad. And what we're doing with sadhana bhakti is training ourselves to make new habits.
Okay.
It's really easy to go to those default habits that feel good very quick, right? You know, the newest, latest one is just scrolling. You just go back to scrolling. People don't even watch TV anymore. They watch like clips. My kids, I say, do something good with your life. Watch a movie. You know, in
Watch
the
a
old days, you're
television
like,
show.
you're watching too many movies. Now it's just like they just want to watch like YouTube videos. This is
Raghunath,
what's going.
I don't
Yeah.
think they're the only ones doing that.
Yeah, you're right.
Hmm?
All people do this, right?
Okay, well, I was thinking maybe even their father on occasion is watching clips.
Wise guy. But the point is, the calendar is spinning. The hands of the clocks are spinning super fast. And the real substantial things of life pass by.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
Well, I've always loved this song, and I think what you're sharing is a really important part of it. You know, you want me to read some of the other lyrics, Raghunath? I think you really like them.
Yeah. Did you know that this song was spiritually substantial?
Yes, I did.
You always did. You're one of those guys who knows the lyrics of songs,
I know the lyrics commonly
of other songs too.
of some other songs as well. Yeah. No.
No, the end.
So
For
you know,
years, out loud, publicly, I would sing that song, Band on the Run.
and you had
I
no
always thought
idea.
it was Stand on the Rug. Stand
Yeah.
on, walking down the street singing Stand on the Rug.
Okay. Stand on the rug.
Right?
And you didn't even know that was
Sounds
Paul
like
McCartney.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
No. I was one of those guys just listened to the radio, never knew the words, never knew who's singing it,
Okay.
made
I'm
up
gonna,
my own words, sang those loudly. Go on.
I'm gonna read
Give
you
us
some
other lyrics, Prabhu.
And these lyrics, as you're saying, I think they have a lot to do with missing opportunities in life. That the way that life works is that you know, we sit and watch movies of people rising to the occasion. You know, like that's kind of generally what happens in the character arc in a decent film. Is that there's challenges in life and something becomes difficult and someone steps up and faces the difficulty with courage. We sit and watch stories of it, but we don't always do it in our own life. And we may feel like, well, it's not like I'm being called upon to save the world from nuclear destruction, or I'm being called upon to save, you know, a child from being kidnapped, or, you know, like, there's nothing for me to do, you know, that's like so meaningful. We might feel that way, but I think, you know, it's not necessarily that we have to do something huge in life, but if and when, you know, we're on our deathbed, that we can feel good about where we are it will have, it's not necessarily that we've done something big, because in one sense, no matter how big whatever we do in this world is, ultimately it's very small, right? Even if
Sure.
we become the most famous person on earth and become very influential, in the grand scheme, in the relative scheme, it's very tiny. So it's not so much about how big the things we do in our life are, but how meaningful they are.
Mm.
And you like that, Raghu? You with that?
I do. This is what we were talking about with our live group reading the second canto today,
Just
or
say,
the
okay.
first canto, second
So
chapter.
connections here, Raghu. Connections are happening. Now, this song, it talks a lot about not taking those opportunities in human life. Listen to this one. This one I think will touch you, Raghunath. Okay, you ready? It says, I know a father who had a son. He longed to tell him all the reasons for the things he'd done. He came a long way just to explain. He kissed his boy as he lay sleeping, then turned around and headed home again.
Wait, what?
Okay, you gotta listen.
He kissed him. And then
In
he went
other
home?
words, he had something on his heart that he had to share with his son, right?
Mm.
Probably not easy to talk about. That's why it's been unsaid for all these years or for whatever time, you know? Maybe it's a divorced family and the father wants to go and
Okay.
share,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So he travels a long way. He's finally going to step up and say what he has to say. And he's come a long way just to explain. When he finally gets there, he sees the boy, he kisses him, and he turns back and heads home again. Like I mean, there are different ways you could interpret that, but it seems to me the most obvious way to interpret it is he didn't actually, he kind of like balked at the
He
last
didn't.
second.
He didn't say what he wanted to say.
He didn't say what he had to say. Yeah, yeah, and there's another one here that's also kind of sad. I know a woman became a wife.
Okay.
These are the
That's so
very
far so good.
words. These are the very words she uses to describe her life. She says, a good day ain't got no rain. She said, a bad day is when I lie in bed and think of the things that might have been. Slip
Mm.
sliding away, slip sliding away. You know, the nearer your destination, the more you're slip sliding away. Why are you laughing?
What's that thing from the movie where a guy has no regrets on his neck, tattooed wrong? You
Yeah,
and the
right.
father of the daughter is going, you really have no regrets? No, man, I got no regrets. None.
Maybe
No,
even
man,
one.
that's how I'm living my life. Not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
know, here's the thing: it's like we need to be. In one sense, we live in a world where we've been weakened. We've been made weak, you know, by the media that we consume, by the unhealthy food that we consume, by the strange social structures, or let's say dysfunctional structures that we live in. It's hard for us to even think of what we want to do that will be. You know, he also writes here, what is it again? Um, we work our jobs, collect our pay, right? Like we get stuck in the minutia of everyday life. We believe we're gliding down the highway, but we're slip sliding away. We need this spirituality, right? Spiritual practices, trying to understand who I am, trying to, he also says, right? He says, God only knows God makes his plan. The information is unavailable to the mortal man. And I would say, we would say that it's not exactly unavailable, but it's a bit of a mystery, right? That's part of our challenge, is trying to understand, how does my life become aligned with this broader, universal, spiritual, devotional, bhakti purpose. And if I can do that, it will reflect in my relationships with the world and with my family and with my neighbors and with, on any level, it
Sure.
will become meaningful, right?
In the same way a good businessman shows up at work at the regular time every day, we need a regulated, substantial discipline towards our spiritual path a
Yeah.
regulated, substantial discipline. No matter where you go, no matter where you travel, whether you're at work or vacation or whatever time, you need to input a spiritual discipline on a regular basis. That's how we change.
Yeah. And that should give us the strength, the insight, the knowledge, the courage to step up in life when those times come and not backslide, not slide away, right? Which is, even as we receive this kind of spiritual knowledge, the temptation, the way, the current, of the world tends to challenge our determination, right? To actually stand up and do the courageous thing or do the difficult thing, do the austere thing. We really need to learn. We need people that in our own lives that inspire us, like actual living examples that show us how we can live. And I think also that that kind of we feel a sense of accountability towards, not even necessarily that they're writing it down in a book, like, that kind of accountability, but that you're showing up in life, that you can show up in the presence of those people and feel good about how you're living your life, and being part of that community, I'm part because I'm trying, I'm part because I'm trying. Like, I think that's important for us too.
All right, sir.
All right.
Let's dive into the sweet honey pot.
Now we're going to hear something. We're going to read today about Kamsa, who just had a breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
He just
It's
had
a great breakthrough for
Yeah, I mean, he went from absolutely
I'm gonna kill a baby.
sick
I'm about
in the
to
head.
kill a baby.
I'm about to kill a baby.
Let's recite the Bhagavad Gita shlokas.
Yeah, and he expressed some things. He said after this whole thing happened, right? He tried to kill the baby. The baby flew up in the air, exposed herself as Durga, expressed to him that, what a fool he is, etc. And then that shook him up. And he began to express some true knowledge about life, some true insight. And then he turned to his sister and brother-in-law, and he said, please be merciful to such a poor-hearted person as me. Since both of you are saintly persons, please excuse my atrocities. That was a big breakthrough,
It was one of those classic things. If there's one of those classic, like, traumatic experiences where you feel like self-realized for a moment, like somebody dies, or you witness a car accident, you witness a death,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my God, this could happen to me. We could be all die at any minute, and you feel like a self-realized soul for like 20 hours or something like that.
You gotta hang on to that.
Then you go back to your Maya.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta hang on to that.
Hang on to that. Otherwise,
the interesting thing is,
yeah,
the universe is always giving us this chance to be self-realized, and we take it and just like discard it.
right.
It's hard to hold on to that. And of course, here's Kamsa. He's gonna forget
Yeah. Will he be able to hold on?
Practically.
Will he be able to hold on, or will he be sliding away? That's what we're going to find out right here.
Kamsa changes, becomes a person. He starts a charity. He takes on philanthropic work.
The Kamsa Foundation?
Gardens. The Kamsa Foundation. Give to the Kamsa Foundation. All right, let's get on with this. Narayanam namaskrityanam chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato chayamadhirayat. Before we start in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloki bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Minadamnena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 4, Text 28. Sukadeva Swami speaks.
What did he say?
Thus, having been addressed in purity by Devaki and Vasudeva, who were very much appeased, Kamsa felt pleased, and with their permission, now he's asking the prisoners for permission.
Can
with
I
your
go home?
permission, may I go home now? Now that I've let you out of prison and your home is probably in shambles.
So,
After the night passed,
it mentions that he felt pleased. You know, maybe first time in a long time. Get all of that demonic, baggage off your back. Right?
Yeah, empty your demonic bags.
Yeah.
Write that down.
I don't know if that's quite T-shirt worthy, but
I'd wear it. Empty your demonic bags, yo.
All right.
After that night passed, Kamsa summoned his ministers and informed them all that had been spoken by Yogamaya, who revealed that he was all ready to be slain. That he who was to slay Kamsa had already been born somewhere else.
Okay.
So they probably gave him some good advice, huh?
We'll see. But before we go there, I think maybe the people online need to shut down their cameras because your
dragging?
visuals are lagging.
Sorry.
Big time. Yeah.
Lagging visuals?
Yeah.
Am I drooping or just lagging?
Lagging.
Okay. All right, so now the ministers are going to chime in. After hearing their master's statement, the envious demons, who were enemies of the demigods and were not very expert in their dealings, advised Kamsa as follows. This is a good lesson here right now, huh? Make sure you surround yourself by the non-envious.
Yeah.
Because he was in a good place. He was in a really good place. I've done
breakthrough.
something wrong. I've apologized. I went home. I emptied my demonic sacks that I've been carrying around, my bag of demoniac thoughts, feeling good about life in general. I'm feeling groovy. But this is what they said. If this is so, O Kamsa, beginning today, we shall kill all the children born in all villages, towns, and pasturing grounds within the past 10 days or slightly more. Oh,
how did they get back to baby killing so quickly?
They went right back to baby killing. He's like, yeah, maybe baby killing is a good option. The demigods always fear the sound of your bowstring, Kamsa. They are constantly in anxiety, afraid of fighting. Therefore, what can they do by their endeavors to harm you? It's like one of those kids in high school who are always going, just fight him, kick his butt, go fight
Punch him. Hit him.
Instigators. While being pierced by your arrows, which you discharge on all sides, some of them who were injured by the multitude of arrows, but who desired to live, fled the battlefield intent on escaping. Defeated and bereft of all their weapons, some of the demigods gave up fighting and praised you with folded hands, and some of them, appearing before you with loosened garments and hair, said, "Oh, Lord, we are very much afraid of you." They're trying to Kamsa, this is not a time to be soft. Let's go out there and dominate. When the demigods are bereft of their chariots, when they forget how to use their weapons, right? When they are fearful or attached to something other than fighting, or when their bows are broken and they have thus lost the ability to fight, your majesty does not kill them. The demigods boast uselessly while away from the battlefield. Only where there is no fighting can they show their prowess. Therefore, from such demigods, we have nothing to fear. As for Lord Vishnu, he is in seclusion in the core of the hearts of the yogis. As for Lord Shiva, he has gone to the forest. And Brahma, he is always engaged in austerities and meditation. The other demigods headed by Indra are devoid of prowess. Therefore, you have nothing to fear. Nonetheless, because of their enmity, our opinion is that the demigods should not be neglected. Therefore, to uproot them completely, engage us in fighting with them, for we are ready to follow you, Kamsa. As a disease, if initially neglected, becomes acute and impossible to cure, or as the senses, if not controlled at first, are impossible to control later, an enemy, if neglected in the beginning, later becomes insurmountable.
Okay.
The foundation of all the demigods is Lord Vishnu, who lives and is worshipped wherever there are religious principles, traditional culture, the Vedas, cows, brahmanas, austerities, and sacrifices with proper remuneration.
Okay, slow down.
Okay.
Whoa. So let's look into this verse here, right? These are people that, even though Kamsa of all people had this breakthrough, he fell right in with his old gang, and they were determined to fight. And they kind of gave a gradation. Here, Bhagavatam's kind of like, it had pointed out kind of like the gradation of influence in the universe. It started with Vishnu. They said, he kind of hides. You don't see him all the time, right? He's in the hearts of the yogis and so on. Shiva is out there in the forest doing his austerities. Brahma is like caught up in meditation. These are higher level beings, right? And then there's Indra and his gang. That's kind of like the people that we're on the level with. Let's fight them now. We've got nothing to be afraid of. And then in this verse, something's being laid out here. To us as Westerners, this may feel alien in a sense, but it's saying that in order to have a healthy society, certain things need to be looked after, right? Just like with your own like physical health, like a general practitioner kind of doctor will have like a checklist of things, right? Like there's the blood pressure, they'll take your pulse, they'll ask you about your digestion. There's certain areas that you need to look into, and if these areas are being well monitored and are stable, then that good health will be there. And this verse is kind of going down a checklist. Now, these things may sound unusual to us, but from the point of view of the sages, from the point of view of the yogis, these items, if they're given priority, right, and if they're preserved well and given a priority within society, you can count on there being a healthy spiritual society. You can count on there being peace. You can count on there being prosperity. You can count on there being harmony. You can count on receiving all kinds of blessings, both material and spiritual. And so why don't we go through the list here, Raghunath, and think about it a little bit, okay? And we can look at even the Sanskrit, right? There's dharma. It's saying he says, wherever there are religious principles, traditional culture, the Vedas, right? Like, there has to be some kind of guidance, right? There's got to be something upon which our values stand.
Sure. A map of what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah. Now we talk about this on the show a lot. Like we talk about the idea that morality itself, or you could say our values, that they have to be based on something that's real. And if there is no God in place, no revealed scripture in place, then really there is no basis. And sometimes people they kind of object to Prabhupada's the way that he often spoke against scientists. It's not that Prabhupada was against science; he was all for it. He actually even established like a scientific wing of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. But he understood that what scientists are doing right now, he would label it, but not all of them, but what some of them are doing, as demoniac. And it's not like it's some kind of like it's not like it's just some kind of wild fanatical religious thing. But the idea is, because science in many ways has been working diligently to cut the legs out from under any kind of stable basis for our values or for our morality. If you come out and you put forward a theory that everything in the world is just a random chance, there is no moral basis behind it all, we can make that up ourselves, then what you have is chaos. Right? What you have is a very mixed up, crazy world with no basis. And so when it says here that You need to have the Vedas. The demons, the demoniac beings that are advising Kamsa right now, they're against these things. They're against the Vedas, the cows, the brahmanas. You know, they want to kind of like, they want to be free of any moral kind of standard. And so here's what holds the society together. You know, cows. To a lot of people, that may sound like that came out of left field, right? Like cows. Why are cows so important?
The Vedas, austerities, sacrifices, cows.
Cows. But you know, there's this brilliant idea in the Vedic literature that just look, if you care for this cow, if you show it love, and if you build your society, and in one sense, you could say limit, like if you create some boundaries in your society that, like, you know what, we're not going to be concerned with drilling the planet for oil to create petroleum fuel. We're going to keep it simple, and whatever power that we need, we'll just get it from this loving friend, the cow, right? We'll care for the cow, and the cow will care for us. The food that we eat will be given by the cow, whether it's in the form of its milk, which can be made into butter, which can be yogurt, ghee, all of these wonderful things, or whether it's through becoming our tractor, right? We just feed it grass, and it's got a ton of power to plow the land. And there, if we need oil to light up our homes, we don't even need electricity. We can just grow castor plants and use castor oil in lamps, right? If we need power to build a home and move heavy things, you know, the cow and the bull are perfectly capable of doing that. You know, whatever it is that we need in our life, if we need pesticides, if we need fertilizer, the cow is ready to provide those for us easily. This beautiful creature is part of the universal plan, right? This information is available to the mortal man, right? It's right there. That if you just care for the cow and the bull, show them love, protect them, they will also care for us, and we can actually have a prosperous society without all the drawbacks that come from, you know, this world, to someone who lived centuries ago. As soon as you step into this world, the first thing that you're going to recognize is there's tons of cars and loud vehicles driving all over the place, and we're fighting wars over things like oil,
And garbage.
yeah, and a lot of garbage. It's pollution, yeah, and it's so much, you know.
Like, think what we're gonna leave on to future generations.
The plastic.
Ever drive by like an abandoned mall? It's like so disturbing. If you go by like when in the old days walking through Vrindavan, sometimes you'd see like an ancient temple that was like dilapidated. It was beautiful. The dilapidated buildings were beautiful. Even here I am in beautiful Croatia. There's some ancient buildings. And then some of them are like broken and rebuilt. They're beautiful. And some of them are like collapsed in. They're still beautiful. Matter of fact, there's Roman ruins here that are beautiful. Go by like an abandoned Sears. It's disgusting. It's so sad. It's like horrible. And like, what do you do with it? You got to tear it down. You got to ship it off to ship it to landfills. It's all toxic. What the hell?
What the
Cars.
Yeah.
You ever go by a junkyard?
Not in a
and
long
they're making
time.
more cars. They don't even fix cars anymore. You just get new ones. They used to just now cars are just all computers. People that used to learn how to fix cars, to take care. Cars are like disposable.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah,
Washing machines.
Yeah, it's
disposable.
It's a weird world, you know. So the cow. This is why it's so important. You can build your entire healthy spiritual society, or if you care for that cow, it will provide like crazy. Everything that you need. Your clothes, cow will take care of that. You know, you plow the field, you grow cotton. Cow, right? Clothes, you know, lighting for your house, energy for your house, cow, right? Food, cow, right? Power,
Car,
cow.
You can ride a cow. It's
Ride a cow.
everything.
It's kind of, you just have to be willing to live within the limitations, right? You won't be able to travel as fast. But do I need to travel so fast? I don't have a job that's an hour away in a car. I just work on this little plot of land that I have right here, and I have a peaceful mind, So cows are important. The brahmanas, the adults in society who can speak truth. When we were at Villa Vrindavan, Raghunath, we were doing a little tour of the art museum, and there's one huge painting, right? Like this massive painting, and it shows the moment that the Pandavas, Arjuna and his brothers, their father Pandu had died, right? And Pandu had two wives, Madri and Kunti. Kunti also had just passed away. I'm sorry, Madri had also just passed away. And here was Kunti, right? The mother of the Pandavas, in a very in a very vulnerable position, because her sons were meant to be the future kings, but they had been living kind of out in the forest with Pandu. And now her husband Pandu had died. She had to take care of all the children, and she had to bring them into Delhi, into what is now Delhi, Hastinapur, back into the center of the kingdom, right? Back into the capital city, where she knew that the cousins of her sons were very envious of them. And she also knew that their father, who is now kind of active as king, that his character, there was this thing where when Madri passed away, she said, "It's good that I pass away now and not you, because you will love my sons just as much as you love your own sons." She said, "I'm not capable of doing that. If I were to live on and you were to die, I wouldn't be able to love your sons the same way that I love my own. But Kunti, you can do that. You're that evolved." And so now Kunti's going in there, but she knows that their uncle, Dhritarashtra, she really doubts whether he'll be able to love her sons as much as he loves his own, even though they're his nephews, and even though they're so noble. So this painting, it's this very wide painting, and it shows Kunti in front with all of her sons walking. They look very powerful, and there's like hundreds of people that are following behind them as they enter the city. Everybody's excited as they enter. But she's got this kind of steely determination, look on her face like, I need to protect my sons. But along with them are coming the brahmanas, are coming the sages, are coming the forest sages, because they were not caught up in the political intrigue, because they were not under any, being, under the servitude, in the sense of like paid servitude of anyone. They were able to say, we will enter in there with you, and we will speak to the king, to the necessity of that he embrace your sons in the same way that he embraces his own sons. And so the brahmanas become this factor in society, the truth speakers, the wise ones, the detached ones, who have no self-interest and can speak for the good of everyone, for the peace of everyone, for the spiritual upliftment of everyone. It's essential, right? It's an essential feature of society. And so the Vedas, the cows, the brahmanas, austerities, right? We live in a world that's trying to limit austerity in any way that it can, right? You need to get this kind of socks. You need to get this kind of bed. You need to get like the husband's side of the bed should be able to go up, while the woman's side, like it should be able to vibrate too. And, it should be able to, it's like, no, you get off the bed, right? And do stuff with your life.
Sit in a chair and read a book. Well, I want my bed to go up to a chair. Easier and easier and easier.
So austerity and sacrifices with proper remuneration, like.
That's like me and Mara having this ongoing fight between electric bikes and bikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't.
Pro?
We
don't.
do.
No,
We do.
It's just in your own head,
We do.
Raghunath.
It's like, just bicycle. Does everything have to be electric? We're going to become like these legless, armless, like little blobs that just go around with thoughts, and it just wheels. We're ruining ourselves.
Our
Well, it
hosts
beats a
here
motorcycle,
offered us
Raghunath.
use. Yeah.
Well,
Ooh.
that's if you're going far, you use a motorcycle. I get it.
Our hosts offered us use of their e-bikes. And I was saying, oh, what a great day it was for bike riding, and how much I appreciated being out on the bike and all this. And Raghu
And then
was
Raghu had to
Triggered that
speak up.
first domino.
not having a motor on the bicycle.
This is from the guy that owns a truck and many motorcycles. He's looking down his nose at you
Alright,
for
Krishna.
riding that e-bike.
I like the e-bike.
I do too.
I know, because you're both a
Also,
little.
bicycles.
Don't even say, Raghunath, don't even say it. Don't say something you're going to regret, Raghunath. Don't say it. You're both a little. But finally, he said sacrifices with proper remuneration. You know what that is, Raghunath? That's society getting its focus clear, right? No, it's not the
Yeah.
Oasis reunion. No, it's not the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals. No, it's not the Taylor Swift concert. No, it's not the ridiculous new movie that's coming out or the Emmys or the Oscars. No, it's none of these things. It was events held wherein everyone could come. It's a way of creating harmony around the healthy center, right? Let's perform a ritual that gets us all focused on what's meaningful and important, that ties us into reality, not forgetfulness of reality, but remembrance of reality, what's important, and with proper remuneration. And then you recognize in society who should be shown special respect and special honor. So this is what keeps a society together. We don't even know these things. We don't even know, oh, the cow is important. We do the worst, most horrible things to the cows.
Right.
You know,
You do the opposite
yeah,
of austerities,
do
of
the
cow
opposite.
protection.
We don't know what brahmanas are. We're lucky if we get, like a somebody's like, oh, Oasis is getting back together. Holy, on the chat board.
Come on, chat board, zip it up.
But so anyway, these why don't you read the commentary from Srila Prabhupada on this important stuff here?
This is good. What number was that?
39.
Okay. Here is a description of Sanatan Dharma, eternal religious principles, which must include Brahminical culture, brahmanas, sacrifices, and religion. These principles establish the kingdom of Vishnu. Without the kingdom of Vishnu, the kingdom of God, no one will be happy. No one can be happy. Nate vidusarta gatim hi Vishnum. In this demoniac civilization, people unfortunately do not understand that the self-interest of human society lies in Vishnu. Durasaya
Can we just hold it right there?
manina.
Let's just say, someone may say, oh, now you have your religious sectarian point of view. Try to step back and try to understand when he uses the word Vishnu, right? He's not even using the word Krishna here. He's using the word Vishnu, which means that there is a personified divine being, right? That whose consciousness is the origin of this universe, who is the central conscious figure in the universe, whose energy, everything is his energy. Everything exists within his energy, as if the universe is his own body and he's the soul of the universe. And then he enters within everything. So getting everything in this universe harmonious means getting it harmonious around that center. So whether you call that God Vishnu or something else, his point is that there is a central figure which is sustaining everything. So if we understand that, well, he kind of says it the other way. People unfortunately do not understand that the self-interest, it's within our own self-interest to get centered around that natural center that exists.
And he next says, thus they are involved in hopeless hope. This idea of like, this will make me happy. That will make me happy. If I can get here, then I'll be happy. It's a hopeless hope.
Yeah, let's create a United Nations. We'll all get together. We'll talk it out. No, you don't have the same center.
That's it.
Yeah.
The hopeless hope. People want to be happy without God consciousness or Krishna consciousness because they are led by blind leaders who lead human society to chaos.
Yeah.
The Asuric adherents of Kamsa wanted to disrupt the traditional condition of human happiness and thus defeat the devatas, the devotees and demigods. Unless the devotees and demigods predominate, the Asuras will increase and human society will be in a chaotic condition.
It's a mess.
Horrible mess.
It's a mess.
O king, who are your adherents in all respects, shall therefore kill the Vedic Brahma. I'm sorry. O king, we, who are your adherents in all respects, shall therefore kill the Vedic brahmanas, the persons engaged in offering sacrifice and austerities, and the cows that supply the milk, which clarified butter is obtained for the ingredients of the sacrifice. You're going to do the opposite. The brahmanas, the cows, the Vedic knowledge, the austerity, the truthfulness, control of the mind and senses, faith, mercy, tolerance, and sacrifice are all different parts of the body of Vishnu, and they are the paraphernalia for a godly civilization.
You know, Raghunath, why don't we just stop right there? When we come back, why don't we pick up on that verse? Because there's a lot to be said about that. And we're out of time.
Okay, so we're going to stop there. Miss Mara, do you have some missed takeaways? Miss Mara, do you have some takeaways today, please?
I do have some missed takeaways for you.
Mistakeaways. There's takeaways, and then there's mistakeaways.
Mistakeaways.
It's misinformation. It's the misinformation age.
Yeah, but that we sometimes, if need be, we could say that's not a takeaway, that's a mistake away.
Yeah, I might have some mistakeaways too. Read Bhagavatam daily to break out of the default settings.
Oh.
Okay.
It's not about how big what we do is, it's about how meaningful it is.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
The nearer your destination, the more you're slip sliding away.
Mm-hmm.
Slip sliding away.
Keep it on focus, Kaustubha.
Okay.
Focus.
Well, that kind of was.
We need regular spiritual discipline.
Regulated spiritual discipline. Next.
The universe is always giving us chances to be self-realized.
Chances to be self-realized. Next.
Understand it's in our self-interest to be centered around the real center.
Check.
Give up the hopeless hope of happiness without God consciousness.
Give it up.
Give it up.
Care for the cow, and the cow cares for us.
Oh.
Care for the cows. The cows care for you.
And
Oasis is getting back together.
I gotta go.
That's a mistake away.
Empty your demonic sacks to be feeling groovy.
I don't know what a demonic sack is. Is it like an...
Just imagine what's in that sack.
Amniotic sack?
Stuff. It's like a backpack. I was picturing like a Marmot backpack or something like that. You're backpacking a bunch of the demoniac thoughts and abilities. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Remember, there is no show. Today is what day?
Today's Thursday.
Today's Thursday. No show till Wednesday.
It's like almost a week.
Now.
Yeah. Look at Greg DeGasus, like he's looking a little unstable over there. Yeah.
Like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Anyway,
we're going to send you stuff. Check your emails and the Sage Community Platform. We are going to... Yeah, wisdomsages.com. We're not going to abandon you.
Thanks, everybody. It is a beautiful day. For a beautiful day, let's say goodbye to everybody here. Everybody, see these people. Bonin and Dini, she's taking notes and the whole thing here over here.
Really?
Thanks, everybody. Wow, let the magic continue to flow.